Isis, and her dead husband Osiris impregnated her, then she's going to have Horus, the hawk god. We'll talk about him. And notice that there's a candle here and there's a book. And she's contemplating that book, the secret. That's where the secret is. It's in the book. The reason why this one fascinated me so much is that Dan Brown brought attention to the fact that we have another picture of the sacred feminine, or Isis, the little mermaid, who, while she's singing her song about wanting to be human, she draws attention to this very painting, Mystery Babylon, or Isis, mourning the loss of her dead husband. She is she is a travailing woman with child, and she's guarding the secret that lies inside the book. Do you see the concept now? Do you see where all of this is going? And so they publish and print these things, and people read them, and oh wow, then they make the movies. That's the real imagination there. I didn't read the book, I just went to see the movie. And so this is feeding into the imaginations of people, and this is how her spirit is working. Now, all of these gods and all of these superheroes and things like that, as I mentioned before, America didn't have her own myths. So we invented Superman and Batman and Wolverine and the Hulk and Spider-Man and all these superheroes that have come out. These are essentially revamped or repackaged or redrawn mythologies, is essentially what they are. And so what these gods are, what these superheroes are gods. That's what Lois Lane said in the 70s version of Superman. Here I am like a kid out of school holding hands with a god. I'm a fool. I think there's a lot in that statement. And think about Superman. He flies. He's a god that flies. He's invulnerable. You can't kill him. He comes from a planet called Krypton. Where do you find out what that word means? We'll talk about it. Here's what God says in a warning to us about the mythology that's now creeping in to even the church. Exodus 20 verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Exodus 23:13. And in all things that I've said unto you, be circumspect. That means look around you. Make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. And there's a lot to this that is linked with Albert Pike and Freemasonry. Freemasonry has a secret name for God that nobody knows. It's hidden, it's occulted, and we're only going to whisper it to you, and you can't tell anybody what it is. It's Jah-Bul-On. And God said they should not make no mention of the name of other gods. Now you're saying, oh, Mike, you said it. Well, okay, I got to teach it to you. But I believe that he's referring to naming other gods as far as worship or incantations or anything like that. God said don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. And we see Old Testament prophets talking, using the term Baal and things like that. So just using the name is not bad. But invoking the name or reverencing the name of other gods, that's what it is. God's name, he said you should not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. God has his name up here. Don't take it. By the way, he has his word higher than his name. And so anyway, don't use the name of other gods. Don't call your God Kal-El. We'll find out what that means. Exodus 23:24, thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works. Do after their works. But thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their what? Images. Probably, in retrospect, I shouldn't have sold the comic books. I should have burned them. Because they're images of false gods. That's what they are. Nor do after their works. Yeah, I wanted to fly. Oh, yeah, I wanted to fly. Still do. Don't do after their works. You see what I think is coming? We all know, we've studied this long enough. Transhumanism is going to turn men into superheroes. You wait and see, because it is coming, and it's coming pretty fast. And God said, don't do after their works. Don't want those. Don't want what they're here to offer you. And here's what happens. Remember what Paul said. He said that evil communications will corrupt good manners. And I was sitting here reading this stuff, and I was getting corrupted. It was corrupting what preachers were trying to preach into me. Sunday school teachers were trying to teach me. And by the way, Damon Hellstrom, that's his name in here, he's got a big pentagram on his chest. That should have said something. But anyway, what happens is that these gods will turn men's hearts away from the real God to follow after these other gods. Exodus 32:1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, they gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him. That sort of sounds like what Peter was telling us. He says, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, everything continues on the way it goes. And here's what's happening. People are not going to wait for God to come and fix earth's problems. They're going to jump the gun and say, we're going to do it ourselves with new gods. And what's happened is that while people should be waiting for the coming of the Lord, because that's what Jesus told us to do, wait for the promise of his coming, they're not waiting. They're going to go ahead and create their own gods and be turned away from the real God. Deuteronomy 12:30, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. After that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. So this is my point here, and it's biblical. That what has happened in America, America is really the leader of all this, and we start sending this stuff all over the world, as America came over here, the Pilgrims came over here with a King James Bible and a stack of comic books, right? No. They came back, they came over to this land with first originally a Geneva Bible, then the King James. That's what was the first Bible printed in America, was a King James Bible, and it was actually issued by Congress, if I remember my history. I may not be totally right on that. But Congress actually set aside money so that the Bible could be printed. That was our government back then. But what's happened? We've replaced this God with the old gods of mythology. We just gave them new suits to wear, new costumes, new powers, new names and things like that. And that's what's happening. God said, you left all that stuff over there in Europe and in Greece and in Rome. You left all that stuff over there. You should have left it there. Don't go asking, how did these nations serve their gods? I'm going to do the same thing. We're doing it in America right now. Deuteronomy 13:13. Certain men, the children of Belial. Stop right here. That's who that is. The son of Belial, Satan himself, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods which ye have not known. See the number 13 there and the number 13 there? Look at that. 13:13. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, abominations of the earth. The children of Belial took the inhabitants of God's city, took them out, and said, let's go serve other ones. Let's read comic books. Let's go watch superhero movies about gods that are to come save mankind. Let's look at the evil force that's going to come down and invade. Let's look at Loki, who's going to invade and bring all these minions with him and rule over planet Earth. We need a Hulk. We need a Hulk to save mankind. Let us serve other gods. That's what we're dealing with. The Bible nails it. Deuteronomy 32:17. They'd sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Look at this. This Bible is alive. It's telling us what's going on right now. He's telling you that these gods, these gods, are actually devils. That's what they are. That's what it says. They sacrificed unto devils, to gods, to new gods that came newly up. Superman hadn't been around, what? When he came out in the 30s, 40s? New gods that newly came up. And I promise you, and you say, well, that's yours. I promise you, there's going to come a guy who's going to be superhero man. He's going to do superpowers, signs and wonders. He's going to deceive everybody. And the world is going to follow this new God. That's what this book says. I promise you it's going to happen. And so we find out, and we're just kind of looking at these mythological stories that actually they have a basis in reality in the Scriptures. The Bible refers to them as gods. They're not to be worshipped, and you throw down their images. And they're actually devils, bad guys, evil angels. We're going to see that verse in a little bit. So think of people in the Bible that had like extraordinary powers. Now we know that God gave Samson strength. That came from God. There were others in the Scriptures that could do extraordinary things, miracles, wonders, superpowers. Matthew 8:28, when he was come to the other side of the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, gods, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass that way. These were not just fierce. They exceeded what fierce really is. And the reason why no man might pass that way, because they would get beat up or killed by these guys, and nobody could subdue them. We have what some people say is a mistake in the Bible. Actually, it's not. Two different places. This was the Gergesenes, and we have two possessed with devils living in the tombs. In Mark chapter 5, we have the Gadarenes. There came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes, and when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. That's a devil, a god, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. I saw that in the Man of Steel. They actually had him handcuffed. He let them do it. And then when it came time to go into action, he just went, and they were plucked asunder. That scene, this scene was in that movie. Okay? But look at what this man, because he had many devils in him, he had superhero strength. No man could bind him. It's interesting that with Superman, only Krypton and the presence of Krypton can make him weak. I'll talk about that, if you know what Krypton is. Okay? And by the way, there's different kinds of Krypton. There's green kryptonite, which weakens Superman. There is red kryptonite. There's gold kryptonite. There's different colors of it, and some of them can actually kill him. Some of them make him insane. See, I kind of know my stuff on this. All right? But here we have a superhero. We have a Superman. He's so full of devils that when they bind him with iron chains, he just goes like that. He has superhuman strength. Where did it come from? Not God. It came from devils. Look at what his name is. Mark chapter 5, verse 9. When he asked him, "What is thy name?" he answered and saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Take a look at this. This is a scene out of a Superman comic book. This is the Legion of superheroes. Many men. Oh, you have Elastic Lad